All right, welcome back to episode 3 of LightBurn 101. So we are slowly going through all of the menus in LightBurn so we can explain what they all do and hopefully give you a better understanding of how to use the software. We've already covered File, we have already covered Edit. In this episode, we are going to cover the Tools menu bar. So what's neat about the tools menu bar is when you select it, it is all the tools you'll need, but they're also the same tools that are on the left-hand side by default of LightBurn. So there's multiple ways to find items, and we'll go over what they all do right now. So let's get over to LightBurn. So tools is the third menu, and we start off with select. And that is the little arrow right here. So if I will just draw real quick, a couple of little googly eyes, a little nose, and a big old mouth. And then there we go. So this is our little dude here looking at us. So if I hit the select button or select icon, it will allow me to select objects in my project and simply move and adjust them. I can adjust the scale of them. I can adjust the position. By holding Control on my Mac, I can also equally adjust the scale. That will allow me to move any piece that I want around. The next option is draw lines. And that is a pencil tool. And a lot of people don't like the pencil tool just because it's not easy for some people to work with. So, but this will allow me to basically just create nodes. So as soon as I click down, that put my first node. Now that node is locked, but I can move my second node wherever I want. If I hold the shift button, it will adjust to 45 or 90 degrees. And then I can just move accordingly. So if I clicked again, that gives me a second node. Clicked again, that gets me a third node. And now I can click again, and now that's not going to close the object, but if I click over the first node, you'll see how my cursor kind of changes. As soon as that cursor changes, that closes the object, and it also stops my drawing. Now, if I clicked again, I would start drawing another node and another piece. And that is not an issue. But for right now, I want to hit escape, or you can also click over here for the select tool. And I'm just going to delete that. The next option up is the create rectangle tool. So I can create a rectangle any size or length that I want. And again, if you hold the shift button now, this will give you a perfect square. And if you look up on this numeric toolbar, you'll see the width and the height. Now this lock means that the aspect ratio is going to stay the same. So if I put 2 inches in, it will automatically adjust the height to 2 inches. This is good if you needed to make something exactly a specific size, such as 0.5 for half an inch. And you can also adjust the positioning. Or you could do a rotate here. So we can rotate this 10 degrees. The next option is create ellipse. Now you can create an ellipse, again, any size you want. Or if you hold the shift button, it will create a perfect circle. And again, if I click again, it will give me another. So if I just hit escape, or select, that will deselect that tool. The next option is create a polygon. So these are all pretty much create polygon, create circle, create square. They're all standard. They all have the same properties behind them. Okay, so the next option is edit node. Now these are primary shapes, so they don't have node properties. But if you select these shapes, let's say we'll select this group here, and then we can go to edit, convert to path, because paths have nodes. Now we can click on the edit nodes button and we can edit and manipulate these nodes. Now the nodes are pretty much just the anchor points in an object. So we can make general modifications or we can make large modifications. Now you cannot edit the nodes of a grouped item. So if you have grouped something, you will have to ungroup it to edit the nodes. But we can make any modification here that we would like. And then we can change any of these items that we see fit. And you could even delete a node, Control Z, and make any new object that you want. So it's very powerful to create new designs and new shapes. The next option we have is add tabs. Okay, so let's create our little face here. So we got our face. We'll select everything. Make this a little bit smaller. Now let's say I wanted to cut this out with my laser, but I wanted to keep it on the original piece of plywood. I'm going to cut it out of plywood. So let's say I'll cut it out of an 1/8 inch piece of plywood, but I wanted to make sure that it stayed on that plywood. I'd cut it out later, let's say. So this is where I would add my tabs. So if I click on here, I'll add a tab there, a tab here, and a tab here. Now, what that means is the laser will go around the circle and it will stop. And it'll skip and it'll keep going and it'll stop, skip, and then you'll just have to snap that out once it cuts. The next option we have is text. So if you want to add text to any project, this is how you would do it. So once you type your text, it will select, and then you can choose any of the fonts that are on your computer by default. You can also add new fonts, and you can adjust the settings for your text font. So I have in the past adjust my vertical and horizontal spacing. You can adjust the alignment, you can adjust the offset, you can make everything bold, make everything uppercase, italicized, you can even distort. So there are a lot of options that you can do if you have the time and inkling to get in there and make any of those modifications. Oops. So that is the text tool. The next option is set laser position by clicking on page. So this is a nice feature because if I don't have a laser hooked to this computer here, but if you wanted to jog the laser to a specific point, you would just click and then click on that point, and then the laser would jog to that position, and then you could start your jog. So the home position for your laser is always at 0, 0. So if you look at the very bottom of your screen, you will see the X and Y coordinates, and that will tell you how many inches up and how many inches over you're actually going in your document. The next option in our tool menu is measure, which is convenient for whenever you need to measure a item. So this text has 753 nodes, 134 lines, 619 curves. The perimeter is 90 inches. The width is 11.4 inches. So if I'm trying to put this on a 12-inch piece of plywood, this would perfectly fit, and the height is coming in a little over 1 inch. So that is helpful, and again, yeah, it will just give you any of the measurements that you need, or you can just drag and see. Let's see, so from the top of this guy to the bottom of my text, segment length is approximately 5 3/4 inches, and then again you can check the width of this is 12 inches. And you can adjust that to millimeters or inches. It's helpful for sizing items up, but I use these quick alignments here more often than the measure tool. The next option is create barcode. So this is where the items stop over here. So you can see that create barcode is not there. However, if you do the create barcode, you just simply drag and drop. You can put raw content, Wi-Fi password, contact information, QR code, and a various many other options. So this is nice because I've used this when I laser engrave, let's say a giveaway, some scrap wood or something that I'm going to give to somebody, and I put a magnet in the back of it, and I will put my YouTube channel on there. So I will put www.youtube.com/Wilmer Woodworks and click OK. Now this I've found is a lot better on laser engraving wood than, let's say, importing a QR code from another website that was generated. Because these settings will actually, let's see, if I change this to layer 2, we'll go to a fill. So this will actually fill a lot nicer on wood than anything that I have ever imported as an image. Now, one thing to keep in mind, if you are going to laser engrave QR codes into wood, you want to make sure that they are fairly large. Your wood, I've done it with contrasting wood. So I've had like strips of maple with strips of walnut and strips of cherry mixed and matched. It's fine. The only thing is when you do have your fill settings, you want to make sure your bi-direction or your crosshatch is selected. So it's bi-directional fill and it's crosshatch. This means it's going to laser one way, and it's going to go back and laser the other way. And that has given me the best results. So if we undo this, we go to preview. This will take 55 minutes. So let's see. So if this will show you. So the laser will go back and forth. And then once it's completed, it will go back the other way. And it will show you every single line that it will do to complete. Now this here, this option is 5 inches by 5 inches. I think, let's see, if we do 3 by 3 and then we do that preview, 21 minutes. Not terrible, but it will give you the best results. The next option we have is offset shapes. This is useful for, let's say we wanted to make a keychain. So for right now, let's take our little man, we'll put him on layer 5. We will not show him, we'll get rid of him. So let's say I wanted to make a keychain that just said Wilmer Woodworks. So what I would do is I would select this offset, and you see how large that offset is already? That looks nice. So we can increase the offset distance. So as far as we want, actually. Now I don't want it to go too far. If I just did that, now you can change this to bevel, corner, round, inward or outward. I mean, we want this to be outward. So let's say 1/2 inch. Click OK. Turn this line on so we can see it. But since this is a keychain, we want to add a circle. So we'll add the circle. We'll add the circle. And we'll select these two. And we are going to just group these together. Select this. And I am going to align this in the center. And let's see. So that's 1 inch. Make it 1 1/4. 1.25. Perfect. So now what I will do is I will do another offset, but this time I'll do it inward. So I don't want it to be 1/2 inch. Let's do 0.3. Now if we ungroup this now, we'll weld these two together. So actually that is the next option in here as well. So the next is weld, shapes, Boolean union, Boolean subtract, Boolean intersection, Boolean assist. So weld shapes does exactly what you would think. It just takes two shapes and joins them together. So this could be a perfect keychain, perfect giveaway. But we would want to make sure that the words are set to yellow is engrave and red is cut. So there we have it, perfect keychain. The next option is the Boolean union. Use the Boolean tools to combine existing shapes or grouped shapes into new, more complex shapes. There are 3 Boolean options along with one similar option of weld. So we just went over what weld was, and let's go over the Boolean options. Boolean union merges 2 shapes into one. So let's say we drew 2 circles. Well, let's draw 3 circles. So let's say we have 3 circles. So if we select these 3 circles, and no, we can only Boolean union 2 items. So we'll select these 2 and we will do a Boolean union. That gets rid of the center line. And again, we do Boolean union and it gets rid of the center line. So if we go back, we can do Boolean subtract. And that's going to do exactly what you think it does. It's going to remove that second shape from the first shape. So had we selected this shape first and we go to Boolean subtract, it would do the opposite way. So we could do that again, Boolean subtract, and then we have 2 bytes basically out of this front circle. Last option of Boolean we have is Boolean intersection of 2 shapes. So if we select this and select that, the Boolean intersection would be exactly where they intersect. So if we selected this and we selected this, it would be the intersection of those 2 pieces. And finally, we have the Boolean assistant. Now the Boolean assistant is not shown over here, but it basically, if you select, and you can only do 2 objects, so if we select these 2 objects, we go to tools and we go to Boolean assistant, it will lay out what each Boolean option will do for us. So you can do, and if you select over it, it will give you a preview of how the options will work. So this is helpful if you're just learning and you're not sure on which one you're going to need. Before you go through and start making mistakes, it'll help you to make that correct choice. Okay, so the next option is cut shape. So let's see, let's get rid of this guy for right now. So let's say I had this large sign and I wanted to cut it in half. So I could add triangle, or excuse me, rectangle here. What I'll do is select that, tools, cut shape. And what that's going to do is exactly where that black box has cut this shape in 2. So now I could laser cut this and then laser cut this and then glue these perfectly cut sections back together. So since these cuts were, these are set to cut instead of fill, or line instead of fill. If I set this to fill and then I select, and then I go to edit, excuse me, if I go to tools, cut shapes, it will create a line. So that gives me that line where it will be cut. The next tool is adjust image, and that adjusts bitmaps, and that allows you to adjust the contrast, it allows you to adjust the brightness, it allows you to adjust the gamma. And these adjustments can be used to get better results when engraving photos. And that's the way this will engrave this image. And let me know in the comments below if you find yourself wanting to do engraving of images. I can focus more on that, but it's not something that I've been doing recently, so I just haven't been focused on it. Next option we have is apply path to text. This is useful when you want to do just that. Make your text attaches to a vector object, reshaping it, and allows it to contour to a path. The best way is probably if we go to Wilmer Woodworks and we adjust that down, and let's say we want this to be a circle. So, oops, delete. We'll select this, we'll select our text, we'll go to tools, we'll go to apply path to text. And then with the rotate, you can rotate that, and that gets us our text. And then if we preview, that will get us our curved text. You can do that to a simple curve, a circle, or a curved line. You can basically apply it to any vectored path. Okay, the next option is apply mask to image. So to do that, we'll need an image. So let me bring back this image here. And let's say I like this image, but I wanted to only use partial of it. I didn't want to crop the image because I wasn't sure if this would be the right size. So I can go to here on the tool layer and then select my image and go to tools, apply mask to image. So you could see that the size of the image hasn't changed. So I haven't cropped it. And I can actually move my image around. So let's say I cropped it at the wrong spot, or I chose it at the wrong spot. I can adjust this to this specific tool layer size. So if I was to engrave that, that will just engrave what has been masked. So I can Control Z, let me undo this and undo that. So I can do that with either a shape or even text. So let's say I wanted Wilmer Woodworks. I wanted this text. Well, let's just make it Woodworks. Or how about just wood? Here we go. So just do the letters. And I want to get a lot of these tools that are up toward the top. Make that a little smaller. Got our image, we got that selected. We get to apply, and then it's just the wood, just the words. So if we preview that, then it would be basically like an image fill instead of a standard fill. It could be useful. I don't know. I've never messed with that too much. And the other option you can do is you can apply mask to image, and then you can flatten the image. Now you cannot make any adjustments because it is done. So if I was to move this around, I can't reposition. However, if I go back, Control Z a couple of times, oops, go to my select tool, I can move that image around those words and see how that fill looks. So that is one of the options that are available to you. Okay, so the last three options I'm actually going to save for another video because that is a little bit more in depth, and I think we've already covered quite a bit in this video. So unfortunately, there will be a part 2 to this, but it will be filled with additional powerful options. So until next time, my name is Steve. Thanks for watching, and see you next week.